Also, you missed a perfect opportunity to put in a General Akbar, "It's a trap" meme right there.
Oh man.
Stay your ears.
So this is a, I suppose, community type video. Well, anyways, it's a response video to Centrifugal Force. He made a video that's titled something to the effect of men's, women's, and old lady sense. It's a trap. And it's like verging on 40 minutes. And this is kind of a response video to that. Okay, so the first thing that he said is that he's in a bunch of fragrance groups on Facebook. Join the club, buddy. And he stated that he posed the question, what makes a feminine fragrance, in the group, and it kind of blew up and went crazy, and people had all sorts of things to say, as they normally do.
But I think that's probably pretty accurate. I mean,
Yeah.
I think with anything that you try to label, it's kind of one of those things that's got a lot of connotation without really having a definition, is you smell something and you know whether or not it's a femme fragrance, but you can't describe what about it makes it feminine. It's just the whole packaging. And I think that's a lot of ways with a lot of different things, not just perfume. I mean, it's stuff that we're discerning by all the time.
Yeah. So that's his first question here. He starts out by kind of saying that the people who make things in society, whoever they are, they split things off into gender and they just kind of exploit us, the consumers, that way.
Which is true.
Which is kind of true.
Well, I mean, the exploitation part.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
that's what I'm going.
And so he says that he first starts out this argument by saying that that flowers are for women in fragrances. That's flowers are women's thing. And then he kind of compares that to saying diamonds are a women's best friend, but then says, look, there's a bunch of rappers who have a bunch of jewelry and diamonds, so look, it's not really like a one-sided thing.
And I mean, that's true. I think, you know, to certain extents, right? Like, does the general population associate lots and lots of floral scents and just floral being feminine? Yes. Does that mean that men can't like flowers or men can't rock florals? Absolutely not. Some of our favorite males' fragrances rock a lot of florals. I mean,
That's true.
So, you know, iris is one of your favorite notes, and it's a floral.
Yep, and it's an incredibly feminine, fragrant note. And the reason that we can denote that is this is my first big criticism of his video. Is that he's incredibly simplistic in the way that he approaches these things. He just kind of goes, people are islands. They are completely just a bubble in outer space that's not connected to anything whatsoever. So do whatever you want. It doesn't matter at all. And he's just like, people's hang-ups are people's hang-ups. Which is not really so true. People are always already in the world, and you're always already kind of locked into a society. You don't get born already having all the knowledge that's completely separate from any connotations in society or anything else, and you just kind of go through life. And sometimes because we live in a capitalist society, because people are selling you things, then you buy things and you get all fucked up on which way you're supposed to be understanding the world. It's not as if a boy is born or a girl is born and they have this pure concept of like, the scents that I'm smelling throughout the world have no connotations whatsoever, and then you kind of grow up being like, wow, well, mom wears a lot of lipstick. Lipstick kind of smells irisy. There's a lot of iris in lipstick, and so now I've associated iris with women and with lipstick. Well, I suppose in Centrifugal Force's idea of lipstick, anybody can wear lipstick and it doesn't really matter. Which is true. Anybody can wear lipstick, and as long as you're in your home and you don't encounter another human being ever, it probably won't matter. But once you're engaging in social roles and social behavior, it does matter, because it's now you're making a statement if you're a man wearing lipstick, and if you're a woman wearing lipstick, you're making a statement too. It's in relation to pre-existing conditions of society.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you know, you might be able to say way back when we were just now evolving,
Neanderthals.
There might have been no societal relations at all.
And that's possible, but...
And it's possible, but they were probably still something there, because women were reproducing organisms and men were probably a lot more aggressive and brutish organisms.
Hunter, gatherer. I mean, that was a thing, you know, before language.
Exactly.
That was a thing.
So that's what that's my first critique is that we're not all in these little bubbles that are not connected to anything whatsoever. If you want to wear florals, you can.
Yeah.
Nobody's stopping you. I love Lyric Man, which is a fragrance that he brings up a little later on. It smells super feminine, in my opinion, and pretty much everybody that I've shown it to says that it kind of smells old womanish. But I like it. I'd wear it. That's fine. But I just I have to be aware of that.
The fact that you're,
because I think
image or what you're telling to people once you leave the house.
Exactly.
Or to me. I mean, because you don't live alone.
Right. Or to my cats. But the thing,
they care. They care a lot.
They do. They will sniff me and they'll give me the stink eye. But the point is you can't just say, do whatever you want. Nobody will have anything to say about it. There will be no societal conditions that you're kind of bouncing into and reflecting off when you walk out into the world. You're not just a little island that floats around and does whatever you want. So then his next big thing is that he says, quote unquote, who said women florals are for women? We kind of already just talked about this. And he lists off a bunch. This is where he listed off like Lumiere Noir Pour Homme and Lyric Man, Seal Man, Dia Man.
Again, there are probably cultures and societies out there where florals aren't for women, they're for men. Like, you know, I don't know, can't think of any, but there's probably some somewhere.
Right, but then, I mean, even in those societies, you have to recognize that society is the minority on a global scale.
Yes, sorry. I was just trying to say that it goes with cultural.
Right.
And, you know, it's like snakes, right? There we go, that's a good example of kind of what we're trying to say. So snakes in at least Western idea are bad. Or Western philosophy, Western mythos is usually seen as a bad thing. Mostly because we relate it to Adam and Eve, biblical story. The snake is the betrayer.
And also, it's a thing that evolutionarily we've come to understand as a predator that can take our lives at will.
True, but I think it's some cultures in Africa. Snakes are seen as good luck for fertility, so snakes are seen as a good thing. So again, cultural differences is kind of what we're looking at and what we've kind of been subconsciously and consciously raised with in regards to what is what and what isn't. And it'd be impossible to navigate the world if we didn't have those. They make our life so much easier. It's the way we function as humans. We group everything into everything. Like when you first encounter something, your brain starts going through one of those charts. Is it living or is it dead? Is it a threat? Is it, this, until you get down to what it is. But, you have to characterize things in big, broad, boxes in order to make life livable. Otherwise, we're going to take everything as a single instance and, I'm looking around at all these books. I wouldn't know these were books. I'd have to analyze every single one of these items and characterize them each as a book.
Right.
And that wouldn't be a way to function.
Yeah, and the other thing is, even if you do go back to those societies that are ancient, they are still going to have connotations of smell, even that relate to the specific genders. Again, as she said, hunters and gatherers. I'm assuming that the guys who are going out and getting their hands in animal guts and who are coming home with meat and they're sweaty as hell.
They're going to smell like civet.
Yeah, they're going to smell like something pretty crazy. And it's probably going to be a lot different from the women who are out touching trees and touching fruit, maybe killing snakes every once in a while because those would be threats out in the wild. But you know what I mean? Yeah. They'll smell completely different. And it's not going to be something where, a hunter is going to come home and he's going to smell like roses and they're going to all be like, oh, this is totally normal. He just smells like, whatever he wants to smell like.
I'd be like, dude, where's the meat, dude?
Yeah, see? So, I mean, there's always already connotations with things. Yeah. There's not a pure experience that objectively says that all of these subjective relations are 100% conditioned and therefore you can just kind of choose whatever you'd like at will without having to consider what you're doing. The next point he says is that perfume itself is unnatural and says primarily that women aren't going to smell like flowers and sweets if you have them take a shower with just soap. Or not even soap. He just says hot water and a rag. Yeah, cloth. Which is true.
Wouldn't the clothes that we're wearing also be unnatural right now, too?
They would.
Okay. And wouldn't my glasses be unnatural?
They would.
Okay, what about our toothpaste?
My my understanding here is in agreement with centrifugal force. It is unnatural, but then an appeal to nature is not really a good thing. You know, if you were to say, you could say the fact that we're not all murdering and raping each other right now, that's totally unnatural. It is. It's because of society that we are here, not raping and murdering each other. It's pretty great.
Yeah.
So again, there you go. Society is the reason that there are unnatural things in effect. Just because something is unnatural does not denote that it's bad.
Yeah.
It's that's a logical fallacy. It's called the appeal to nature. He then says that he rolls his eyes when people say fragrances smell too feminine, or when people say that would smell better on a woman, because he says every woman is unique and smells completely different.
True.
Which is true, but then that's not really what we're talking about when we say it'll smell better on a woman. We're saying this feminine or this fragrance has an allure to me. I appreciate it, but it's something that would be seductive on the opposite sex. Not that she specifically would smell perfect wearing it.
Yeah.
But that a woman would smell more in line with what that fragrance itself is projecting. Again, you can be subversive. You could walk outside today and wear Chanel No. 5. Nobody's going to stop you.
Yeah.
You could wear Dior's Poison. You know, you could wear a Britney Spears fragrance outside right now. It won't. Nobody's going to stop you. It's just something where people probably will do a double take. Not all of the time, because you can get away with wearing a bunch of feminine fragrances. And, you know, if you're confident enough and you fit a role that can get away with doing that, you probably will. Nobody will say boo. But you will cause some sort of cognitive dissonance for your appearance with what you're wearing if you push the boundaries far enough.
Mm-hmm. So, a unisex t-shirt, right? Mm-hmm. So, a unisex t-shirt will look better on a guy than it will a girl more often than not. Because unisex t-shirts are going to be baggier in places that usually women's fit t-shirts are going to be tighter. So, I'm not saying that a woman can't wear a unisex t-shirt. I have plenty of unisex t-shirts I wear. But it's kind of like the same thing like fragrance, right? Just because I can wear a unisex t-shirt doesn't mean that it's not going to look better on a guy than it will on me. I'm going to look drowning in a unisex t-shirt, where a guy, it will fit them better. I guess that's kind of the point that you were trying to make, but more in a real life scenario.
And he brings up clothes later. He says, people ask him where he draws the line. They said, are you going to wear a bra or panties next? And he says it's completely different. He's got different packages up here that need to perform a different role. But I think her Jess's analogy here works very well, because it's not different packaging that's going to be supported by it, but just like she said, it is the way that culture has conditioned and represented over and over and over again through time, and also the evolutionary and biological roles that conditioned culture to condition us that way would suggest that there would be something strange or less desirable or appealing, less desirable or appealing about presenting yourself in a way that goes a little bit against or falls out of line with
norms.
So he says, he keeps making this point throughout the video. He makes it several times that we will buy absolutely anything that marketing will sell us. I mean, marketing techniques will work differently, obviously.
Yeah.
It's hard to really just say that human beings are so gullible we'll buy into anything. I get what you're saying, that there are a lot of concepts that we get sold and we buy wholeheartedly that shouldn't be.
Which we kind of said earlier, right? Yeah. That companies and marketers will exploit as much as they can to make more money. Absolutely, we agree with that.
Absolutely. This goes against a point that Centrifugal Force makes later on, stating that niche companies will more often than not make unisex scents, and that this somehow is not also exploitative. Instead, it's just that niche companies understand perfume a lot better and are willing to fight the power. But no, they also just want to sell more product, and they realize when people are probably spending that much money, they probably are kind of already just ready to buy anything as long as it gives them a status that they're looking for, or that it uses ingredients or says to a different quality, or is more obscure and strange. You know, niche has a different marketing tactic than designer perfume houses do, and you're buying into that and then saying that's the natural way that things should be. No, it's just another marketing technique.
Yeah, I mean,
designed to get you.
If you think about it, so niche, right? Niche is automatically going to have a smaller market because it's a niche market. So rather than market to 50% of the already smaller market, why not market to the 100% and call it unisex?
Right. It's totally about the specific group that they're targeting.
Mm-hmm.
With mass perfume, of course you're going to want to split it up to men and women because that is the way that you are going to get the most consumers buying your product. If you're marketing to the masses are the folks who are going to stop into Macy's and they go, I don't care, give me that hot new men's fragrance.
Well, especially if you think about how they market it, right? You've got Johnny Depp on a motorcycle on a beach wearing Sauvage or whatever.
Right.
You know? Like, the way they market their perfumes is very different than the way Zoologist markets their perfumes.
Yes.
It's so different. And in that case, they're selling sex as the way to get people to buy their perfume, and not in regards to, they want to sell you this idea in regards to, you are going to be like Johnny Depp if you wear Eau Sauvage.
Right.
You're going to be like Shazzy, I never know how to say her name, but Natalie Portman if you wear, I think it's a Dior or whatever.
Right.
So it's different marketing techniques, and people, you can say people eat it up, and yeah, they do. It's probably for a couple of different reasons. Ease. They don't have to do their research. They're
Right.
going to know what perfumes are automatically going to be more culturally acceptable and something they're probably going to find more pleasing. In regards to the fact that if I didn't know any better and I was looking for a perfume to buy my mom, I would go to what's got a pink and purple bottle.
Right, and then you would smell out the few and you'd go, here you go.
Yeah.
If you are not selling hundreds of millions of units to people who are extensively like, okay, now what's it smell like? Now what are the notes?
Yeah.
This, that, and the other thing. There are the people, because there are tons of them, that's why when you go into a Macy's, and if you are looking at the feminine fragrances and you're presenting yourself as a straight white male or a straight male of some sort, or if you go into Macy's and you're presenting yourself as a straight male of some sort, and you're looking at the female counter, someone will probably come over and go, hey, here's the male counter over here.
Or they'll be like, oh, what is your wife like?
Right.
And we're like,
Because of the fact that most folks who are coming in there are people who just walk up to the clerk and they say, hey, what's selling right now? What's hot?
yeah.
Because they don't want to buy. They don't want to do that. They are not people who are coming in there who are fragrance nuts.
Which is fine. That's absolutely
Yeah.
fine. But I think that's kind of something you have to keep in mind. Again, it's a marketing technique.
Right.
It's if you haven't noticed yet, it's boiling down to two things: societal conditioning, marketing.
Right.
Those are like the two things it's boiling down to right now.
But here's the thing that's important about both of those is that societal conditioning and marketing
Go hand in hand.
They go hand in hand, but they also alter the real situation that you find yourself in every day. You don't walk outside and just because you've wised up to some marketing techniques and you're like, I'm not going to really be Johnny Depp if I spray this shit on me. It doesn't mean that when you walk outside, the ideas of men and women that have permeated our history and our culture for literally hundreds of thousands of years since we have evolved disappear. It doesn't happen. So if you're saying, I'm walking outside, right, and I spray on
Chloe Roses.
Chloe Roses. Yeah, Roses by Chloe. That you are not going to be presenting an icon of femininity around you and to the people that you interact with in your day-to-day basis. It's fine if you like it. It's fine if you want to wear it. But saying it doesn't exist is incorrect. That's wrong. Because just because you don't like the fact that something exists and then you point it out doesn't suddenly make it go away. It just means you've pointed it out. The point he makes here is he talks all about razors, right? And this is another good point to bring up. He says that razors were a technique that was used to manipulate women. Women didn't shave their armpits until advertising companies came around and said, hey, your men will like it if you shave your armpits. And then they collaborated with fashion houses who started selling bikinis. And they said, oh, now you got to shave your legs too, huh? And they just kind of made women shave more and more and more. And Centrifugal Force says this is because... this is just because capitalist systems want to sell you more units of more products and keep the machine of capitalism alive. Guess what, though? It's actually not true. The idea of men being hairy and women being hairless did not come from a marketing ploy of capitalist societies just saying we want the moolah. It came from the fact that if men and women persisted as they do in nature, women would still be far more hairless than men. If you look at tribal societies, if you've ever watched any documentary that follows tribal societies, or you watched Nanook of the North when you were young and watched all about the Eskimos up north, you will not be shocked to find out the men are very hairy all over, and the women are pretty hairless all over. They've got some hair going on in some places, but even in the places that they've got hair, it's less than men. Why is that?
Biology.
Biology and evolution. They say, hey, you need more hair. Hey, you need less hair. That's all it is. And when you advance to a society that people have lots of money like they do in our society, comparatively to the rest of the world, they're going to say, hey, here's a way to emphasize your feminine mystique. Here's a way to emphasize your masculine machismo. And it's not a way just to sell units. It's not as if these evil masterminds have taken man and women out of their natural conditions and been like, here's a way that we can sell them lots of products and they will forever be enslaved to our system of thought. And it's just not that way. Unfortunately, it would be super neat if every human being walked around with like a complete encyclopedic knowledge of the way that things actually are in real existence, and they were capable of making real autonomous choices that completely negated everything that people in power do. But it's unrealistic, and it also would divorce itself from a lot of the points that centrifugal force makes, because a lot of the points that he's making are things that are actually in nature, but he attributes that natural aspect of the thing to the capitalist system, which is just wrong.
Also, biology just due to hormones.
Yeah.
Testosterone, hair, estrogen, not as much hair. That's why when people do steroids.
Yeah, that's true. That's
true.
Or
like go through menopause.
Yeah,
menopause.
Or post-menopause. Yeah, you get the mustaches going on. Yeah. There's a reason for that.
It's because they make less estrogen and more testosterone.
Yeah, it's not because powerful capitalist systems have been pumping stuff into the air or into your food when you hit past a certain age, and all of a sudden you're hairy, and they're like, you need to buy more products.
Yeah, and I mean, if it's something that really bugs you, don't buy those products. I mean, there are plenty of products nowadays, like, because marketers have realized that people don't like being marketed gendered specific things, especially when it comes to like razors or toothbrushes, something so silly, that they've started coming out with completely neutral, just generic, here's a razor. And it works for everybody.
And you know what they'll do? They'll put it under another face, another icon, and they'll say, here's that guy fighting the patriarchy, fighting the big powers, and you know what? It's like Coca-Cola or some shit like that. So what you do is you are saying, here's this thing that I want to see marketed towards me, and the capitalist over here who's running the system, he says, oh, great idea, that's how I can exploit you and get more money. So we're moving on to the next point, which the next topic he has is that of
old ladies.
Old lady perfume.
Yeah. Let's talk about that old lady perfume.
So he says that, again, he started another topic, and he said, what makes an old lady perfume? And he said he saw tons of young women coming in and talking about vintage 80s powerhouses that they just loved, that everybody describes as grandma perfumes. And they said, oh, that's great. We love these. We don't really care what we're called.
Yeah.
Great.
That's fine.
Neat.
Yeah.
Super
torpedo.
Neat. Yeah. So here he says that fragrance, the reason that we consider fragrances old lady fragrances is because we have a memory associated with them. True. Kind of. He uses the example of an old lady coming into like a cafe or something, and she's wearing black Afgano, and that's your first time smelling it, and immediately you process this, boom, as an old lady perfume, and the next billion times you smell that, it'll be an old lady perfume. No. And there's a reason for that. Again, perfumes are not also islands. They are connected to an entire network of our sense. So our nose, regardless of if we're smelling a perfume for the first time, knows tons of compounds, despite the fact that we don't consciously know them. It recognizes tons of compounds that have already pre-existed, before we've even had words to articulate these. We have smelt our mother's perfume, we've smelt our mother's lipstick, we've smelt our father's aftershave, we have smelt the smell of the soap that our dad uses, we've smelt the lawnmower going, we have smelt all these things, and we have already associated tons of them with boxes, just as Jess said in the earliest part of this video, to navigate the world. It would be impossible if we didn't.
Yeah. So, I mean, here's the thing. So what we consider old lady fragrances now will be really interesting to see in like 30 years, if those are still considered old lady perfumes, or if what people wearing now will be considered old lady perfumes because they'll grow old and then be associated with older women and, you know, those sort of things. And I don't know. I mean, we'll kind of see what happens if whether or not old lady perfumes are something that's changed, like, you know, cyclical.
Yeah.
Which I think it is.
I agree.
You know, but again, it's all about society.
Yeah, I think it's a lot more like names, where you see of older names coming back in now. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are naming their babies like Ruth and Agnes and things like that.
Yeah.
Those used to be grandma names. They sure as hell won't be soon.
No.
But with fragrances, it's a little bit more than that, because like I just said, all these notes are interplaying with our whole total society as we're growing up, and the total effect of our sensory apparatuses that we have going on also playing an effect to that. So he says, the bottom line, smell good. We agree. That's our point here too. Bottom line, smell good. Please just smell good. That's it. That's all that matters. But there's a lot of other things to take into consideration here, and I think he tries to kind of hit on the point, the big quote that we've all heard before, which is that you know, traditions carry on long into the future, way past the point that people have forgotten the reasoning behind them. You know, most people probably don't know why we have Christmas trees to this date.
Pagan holiday.
But it's a pagan celebration, and it's been incorporated into Christianity, and there's a long history for all of this, but nobody really knows that. People just do it. But if you choose not to do it, that's fine. Again, nobody's going to correct you.
But do be expect? Yeah, it's part of culture and it's part of society. So you know, if you start driving on the wrong side of the street, especially anywhere, people are going to give you a weird look and might flip you off. But I mean, that's a really literal, example. You can maybe get away with it for a little bit. You know, if there's no one else on the street, go ahead, drive on the other side. Yeah,
but, and see here, that is perfect. Yeah. While that's an explicit example, societal rules are implicit. We don't have explicit writings of them. And so it's just like violating the law, you're violating a cultural norm or a societal norm, which is fine. There's not a legal ramification for that, like in this case.
Yeah.
But yet you should be aware of it. Mm-hmm. So I just don't think it's as simple and straightforward as centrifugal force tries to make this story. It's best when approaching anything in the world to do so with the most amount of knowledge you can. And I think throwing away an entire history of knowledge or an entire side of culture just because you don't like it, I think is going to get you in the shit house pretty quick.
But yeah, so I guess that's kind of the purpose of this video, is we just kind of wanted to talk about our thoughts and say thanks Centripetal Force for putting this video out there. Like, we appreciate you starting this conversation and giving us a launch point. And if you have anything to add, Centripetal Force, we ask.
Yeah, then we'll see your video next time and we'll come back with a response!
That's not what I was going for. For those who disagree with us, feel free to comment below. For those who agree with us, feel free to comment below. Above, to the side, or about the other side. But yeah. Thanks for joining us on this adventure down this rabbit hole.
Yeah, guys, we'll see you next time, probably with a fragrance review instead of another community video, unless Centrifugal Force responds in a quick enough time, and then we'll make another one in short enough time, and then this will just kind of repeat it forever until one of us gives up.
And then it really will be like a centripetal force.